What's up, guys? Friday afternoon, and we are loading up. And this episode, I think, is a very special one because tomorrow is the best day of the year on my calendar, as far as I'm concerned. It is Australia Day. So by the time this video comes out, it would have been the past Australia Day. We have a ritual in our family and all of our friends. As everybody knows, we live on the Gold Coast. I think one of the best parts of Australia and definitely one of the best parts of the world. Wavebreak Island is a mecca for Australia Day. We're going to shoot a little bit of B-roll down there. You're going to see it throughout the video of what goes on. And it's pretty epic. And that sets the basis for what gets us to Wavebreak Island every single year, and it's one of our boats. This year, on season 2 of Patriot Games, we towed around the brand new Stacer 589 Crossfire. Now, I picked the Crossfire because in the past I've had a lot of different styles of boats. It's probably worth noting, I'm not your mad keen fisherman. I enjoy fishing, but for me, getting out on the water and going boating is about the whole lifestyle that comes with it. Going camping in the boat, going fishing in the boat, going out in deep water, going into rivers, chilling, relaxing on the weekends, taking the kids out wakeboarding or tubing. And the Crossfire, I suppose where the name comes from, I don't know this is a fact, is it's a crossover boat. It is good for everything. Absolutely everything that you want to do in a boat, or you might want to do in a boat. If you're looking for a boat that can do the lot, this is definitely the one. I think size-wise, we had the options of a couple of different models of Crossfire, and I think we absolutely jagged it with the 589. Now, growing up on the Gold Coast, and even my boys now growing up on the Gold Coast, we are tinny rats through and through. That's what the kids do all weekend, every weekend. And Tellwater boats here on the Gold Coast are a bit of an institution when it comes to Gold Coast manufacturing. I could count 20 of my mates from school that have done an apprenticeship there or have worked down there at Tellwater producing the Stacer boats. The build quality is, as far as I'm concerned, second to none. There's a couple of really good things to note. I'm not a boat builder, but I do understand a lot about sheet metal, obviously, having a sheet metal factory and dealing with aluminium day after day. But I suppose the big thing for me is 4mm bottoms on this boat and 3mm sides. Obviously, it's constructed really tough, but say, for example, if I'm up north somewhere and I run this thing aground, I'm not going to have an issue. Wait for a tide and I can push it across a reef. I could go up, a gravel embankment through the mud, and I'm not going to damage the boat. And obviously, when you're in those waters, you got those big, snapping handbags around you, and you want to make sure that the family's protected in the case that you did have an accident or hit something. That's why aluminium boat's going to work for me better than a fiberglass boat. Now, the Crossfire features Stacer's Revolution hull. It's an Evo advanced pressing. The boat's got a raised chine, and without going into the technology of it, because I really don't know, to be honest with you, what I can tell you is the ride on this boat is absolutely unbelievable. Out of all the plate boats that I've been in, through any style of water that I just spoke about, this thing's gonna perform, and they really do perform. Coupled with the big motor at the back, which we'll get to a little bit later on, this boat's quick, it's fast. And even loaded up with, 5 of us, plus the camera crew when we're out filming Patriot Games, it's a really comfortable boat, and it's got as much performance as we need. Now, it's sitting on one of Stacer's aluminium I-beam trailers. We've done a really heavy modification. Can you see me behind the pole? We've done a really heavy modification to this trailer, but you're gonna have to watch the other video. We're not gonna go into that in too much detail. Well, maybe I'll show you really quickly what we have done. We've taken the standard I-beam trailer, which these trailers are super light. Out of the factory, they weigh 400 kilos. The boat itself weighs about 650 kilos unloaded, and then you've got 200 kilos of motor. So the whole package there is sitting around 1,500 kilos. Loaded with gear, with all the swags, full of fuel, full of water, and all the stuff that we take up. We're gonna be sitting underneath 2 tonne, so you can tow this thing through anything, really with anything, and we definitely proved that up in Arnhem Land on the big trip when Dave towed this thing all around Arnhem Land. So just starting at the front, real quick, we've put on the DO35 hitch from Cruisemaster, fully articulating hitch for off-road. And what we might actually do is if we come around the back, we'll slide underneath here, and I'll give you a quick look at the suspension setup. But like I said, check out the other video if you want to see it in detail. All right, so underneath here, we've done a pretty gnarly modification. So we've taken out the leaf springs, which are fine for the off-road use. and obviously for the sealed sort of roads. But for what we do, and I'm a big advocate, as per previous videos, for independent suspension, is we've fitted the Cruisemaster XT underneath this boat trailer, and I can tell you now, you can take this thing absolutely anywhere. But keep an eye out when that video launches. We'll put a link in this video so you can click on that. It was pretty cool to do. We'll go to the back of the boat, and then I'll jump up and I'll show you the business end. Now we're at the back of the boat. I'm going to do a separate video on the E-Tech, and I think it's worthwhile doing a separate video on the E-Tech. I've got to say, I've never been a massive fan, or in recent years, of two-stroke big horsepower outboards. I've always run four strokes. But I've got to tell you, after using this, I've done my research before we picked the engine for this boat, and everything pointed back to here. This thing here is so impressive, it's not even funny. The torque that this motor makes, it's quieter and more fuel efficient than most of the four strokes on the market today. It's direct oil injection, so you don't need to mix fuel like you used to. But like I said, I'll do a separate video on this engine. This boat is rated from, I think, a 90 horsepower to 150 horsepower. And obviously we went with 150 horsepower. There's two models of E-Tech as well, and this is the high output too. Awesome performance, that's what's given us the performance that we need. Worth noting while we're down the back too, all nylon runners on the trailer, really easy launch, really easy retrieve. Really good trailer, it really works well. Let's jump inside the boat, and I'll show you all the good stuff inside and what makes this thing a crossover style boat. All right, the first thing you're gonna notice inside the Crossfire is just how much room that you've got inside this boat. And again, it's a 6 metre boat. It's big for a side console, but it's not too big to tow. A really good feature that I like, probably a standout thing for me as well, is just how deep the sides are, and there's two really good reasons for that. Number one, when we're up north or when we're remote, again, getting back to the crocodiles, like to ensure that the kids are safe. You haven't got as much chance of somebody falling overboard. When you're fishing as well, obviously if you're into like jigging or throwing poppers and that sort of stuff, you're leaning off the side of the boat. It's got a really good height for anybody, even Big Matty when he was fishing out of the boat. He's a real tall dude, and he's very, very stable there. The gunnels, again, it's the little things that make all of the difference, that big depth. I found that when we were on the trip and we had the boat fully loaded, nobody really tends to sit in the seats. When you've got the bimini down, folded down, you're sitting up here cruising, kids along the side, Sarah up the front or one of the twins driving, and you kind of just hang out on the side of the boat. And you can see here just how much space that I've got. So the crossover thing, the whole crossover thing, and I suppose where that all kind of comes from is, you remove the seats, you can take the padding out from up the front, you've got a big casting platform up the front, and it's really comfortable to fish. You can fish this boat with 4 rods really easily without getting tangled up. I'm going to start at the back of the boat, and what I'll probably do is I'll just work my way forward, and I'll run you through some of the additions that we made for this boat to cater for what we do on Patriot Games. So let's go to the back and we'll just work our way through, and I'll try not to miss anything. Down the back of the boat, you can see by the way I jumped up, really easy access ladder. You've got a big area on the transom to stand at the back if you're doing water sports and those sorts of things. There's plenty of room there. Bait board, which is easily removable. The bait board just pops out. It's self-draining bait board, again, for whatever reason. What I'll probably do in the future is I'll modify this one to take a barbecue when we go out on one of the big trips and we stay overnight on it. You've got a live bait tank in here as well. Live bait tank, again, handy for multiple things. If we're just cruising around, we use it as a rubbish bin. Obviously, if you're out fishing, you keep your live bait in there. If you're out crabbing, you can drop the crabs in there. Use that for a couple of reasons. We consume a lot of power with everything that we do when we're filming Patriot Games. So I really wanted to ensure that we had enough power on the boat to do what we need to do. So if we want to run, say, a little Dometic inverter there, we want to charge some small gear, we've got enough power to do it. We can run the lights, we can run the fridge up the front, and we're not going to drain the start batteries. So we've gone with a Red Arc BCDC. Obviously, we've got a twin isolator there as well, 2 fuses down here. We've got a big cranking battery in there, and then we've got 120 amp hour AGM. 120 amp hours for this, what we're doing, is plenty. We've also got a solar input as well. So if we do park up for a few days, want to keep running the fridge, we can connect into solar. Got the fuel filter back here, and we've got a water pump down the back. One of the additions that we made here is we put in a 100-litre water tank right beside the 120-litre fuel tank. Again, when we go on another really big trip and we're going to spend a few days out in the boat, I'll probably add a little bit more fuel capacity. 120 litres is heaps for what most people would plan to do, but obviously for us when we're out in a remote location, we'd like to have as much fuel capacity as we can. Another addition that we've made is we've put in a big Fusion stereo system. We've put in 4 of the 7.7-inch Signature Series speakers, 10-inch sub, 2 Signature Series amps, and the Apollo head unit, the same one that we just put in the black truck, and this thing absolutely pumps. Moving forward, like I mentioned, you've got collapsible seats. You can remove them. The bimini at the top, bimini comes in really handy, obviously when you're in hot conditions. You'll notice all the way around inside the gunnels we've put in LED lighting as well, obvious reasons. The helm of the boat's really quite comfy. Side console, this is the first side console that I've owned. I've always had cab boats or centre console boats, and I've got to say I love it. I think it adds a lot more room. You know, you don't have to move people out the way when you're trying to get past the driver. There's obviously always somebody sitting here. We've got GME VHF, GME UHF as well. That's an addition that we made. Obviously, we're always talking back to camp and communicating with the rest of the crew. We've got the big Evinrude display, which has got all the information on there. Again, when I do the video on the outboard, I'll run you through that. We've got a Lowrance GPS. We've got a pretty cool thing up here I'll show you in a minute. This was an addition from X-Ray Lights. Something that Troy at X-Ray mentioned to me before we left to go on the trip, and it is absolute gold for what we do, but I'll run you through that in a second. Obviously your throttle controls on the side, and that's about it for the helm. Few accessory switches up here, your nav lights and the extra switches for the gear that we've added in. As we move towards the front of the boat, I'll probably just touch on the amount of storage that's inside this boat. You'll see it up the front at the bow, but even inside the gunnels, all the way around the boat, you've got this massive storage area, and it's quite deceiving how much gear you can actually fit inside there. I think being a side console as well, it makes this whole side of the boat a lot more accessible when the seats are out. I've got rod holders mounted underneath here. I've got rod holders on the side of the helm as well, or the side console. But one of the really popular options that I've seen that you should probably check out is the rod lockers. I'm a little bit disappointed I didn't get them. They're a really handy bit of gear. Keep your rods all tucked away nice and safe, and they give you another shelf, bit of a platform there. So moving up the front, a big addition for us is the Dometic fridge. We kind of played around a little bit with the storage location of here and how we configured this boat. Now underneath the fridge, it's got 2 wells in the floor, so you can put in 2 batteries. So if you're going to run an electric motor, say a Minn Coda up the front, you can run a 12 or 24 volt system. You've got enough room there to put 2 batteries right underneath the fridge. It's also worth noting all of these cushions, to be honest with you, unless we're at home on the Gold Coast, the cushions stay in the shed. You can remove this centre panel here, so it gives you more access up towards the front, but I like keeping the front as a bit of a lounge area when we're cruising around, or as a casting platform, and it ensures that the fridge doesn't get in the way of anything. It's really easy to get around. The fridge also acts as another seat. This is Mia's spot. This is where she hangs out every time we're out in the boat, which is pretty cool. All right, so that's about it for the front of the boat, I suppose, the lounge area or the casting platform, depending on what you're doing. There's another post up here, so I can drop a seat up in here if I want to, but this is the cool thing I wanted to show you, the controller that was back at the helm and what it's actually for. So inside this bag here is an Echo light, a remote control spotlight, that we've mounted up here on the plate where you usually mount your electric motor. One of the most favourite things that we love to do when we're up north, and me and the kids will do it every single night while we've got a boat in the water, is go out spotlighting crocodiles, or even just exploring some of those river systems up there. The whole place transforms at night. It's like being in a completely different world. And for us finding those crocs, I can sit back there at the helm, kids safely inside the boat, I can control the spotlight. We've wired up. Underneath me is your anchor well, sitting right underneath here, so you've got another big storage area. You've got 2 massive storage areas on the side here as well. We keep all the safety gear, life jackets, food storage. You've got tons of storage underneath there. And we've got this little rig here that we can just plug straight in. So this is going to give our power and our signal. And I can control everything from back at the helm. Now it's time to switch off. I'm definitely getting out of here this afternoon. I've got to get prepared for the biggest day in Australia, the biggest holiday in Australia. And personally, for years and years, it's always been my favourite. Australia Day, down at Wavebreak Island. If you get the chance to experience it, get down to the Gold Coast and get that done. There's a run through my 589 Crossfire, and I've got to say honestly, that out of any boat that I could have chosen on the market, or any boat even out of the Stacer range, and they do have a massive range, I think I absolutely jagged it with this boat because it does everything that I want it to do. Deep sea fishing, out crabbing, estuary fishing, surfing with the kids on the weekends, lounging around down at the beach, you know, cruising around the canals of the Gold Coast with mates. It just does everything so well, and it's so simple, it's so easy to use, it's easy to tow, good build construction. I absolutely love it. Now, it's Friday afternoon. I'm going to finish loading up, get into these, and I'm out of here. Have a good weekend, guys, and happy Australia Day. I can't believe I just did thumbs up. Did I really do? Happy Australia Day. I'm really sorry about that, guys. It just kind of happened, eh? Seriously, happy Australia Day.